In this crash course, you will learn how to make low-poly fantasy props in Blender 5. Start by downloading the free Blender file in the description. It comes with this palette texture that's perfect for quickly colorizing low-poly objects. Make sure you're in the UV editing tab and that the image shown is the base color image. There's a link in the description to a video if you want to understand how the material works and how to create it. Tab switches between edit mode and object mode. Press N if you want to toggle this side panel. Always ensure your object scale is 1, 1, 1, otherwise you'll run into proportional problems when editing. Select the cube and press Tab to enter edit mode, A to select everything and S to scale it down. When the mouse cursor is away from the object, as you press S to scale, it gives you more precision. Make the cube small. This will be the base of our signpost. Use the mouse wheel to zoom in and hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the viewport. Make sure you're in face select mode. That's 3 on your keyboard. Click on the top face and drag it up along the blue axis arrow. Select the front face of the signpost and press Shift D to duplicate it and the right mouse button to snap it back to the original position. Press S to scale the new face, and when this happens, it's because you have proportional editing enabled. Proportional editing should be off, and now S will scale down only the selected face. Move it up along the blue Z-axis and press S to scale it and X to force scaling on the X-axis. Press E to extrude the face and make the sign thicker. Press Ctrl R to create a loop cut of the sign. You can press right mouse button to snap the loop cut back to the original center location. The loop cut brought us into edge select mode. You can press 1, 2, 3 to switch between vertex, edge and face select mode, and you will do this a lot. In edge select mode, click on the edge at the side of the sign and drag it on the red X-axis to give it a pointy shape. Press A to select all geometry. Move your mouse cursor to the palette texture. Press A here too to select all the UVs. It can be difficult to see, so zoom in with a mouse wheel. Now press G to move all the selected UVs and move them to a brown wood color. I have a full video explaining this low poly colorization technique. Watch it in the link in the description if you need to. This low poly asset can already be used, but let's stylize it a bit. In edit mode, select the top face of the signpost and press S to scale it up. Select the bottom face and move it down. It's good to have it below the pivot point of the object so it sticks into the ground in games. Press Ctrl R to make a loop cut on the signpost. Press R to rotate and G to move it to give it some character. Press Ctrl R again to make loop cuts on the sign. Use the mouse wheel to add more loop cuts. Now you can select vertices, edges and faces and press G to move them around. Rotate the viewport with the middle mouse button so you can displace geometry in different directions. Beginners tend to make perfectly straight edges, but adding these small variations give it character and also affects how light reflects. Press 2 to go into edge select mode and click on one of the edges. Press Ctrl B to bevel the edge. Press 1 to go into vertex select mode, select a vertex and press G twice to slide it along the edge. This will give the sign the look of having some edge wear. We get something called n-gons, polygons with more than 4 vertices, but topology is not important for this mesh. Press 3 to go into face select mode and select the new faces. Move the mouse cursor to the palette on the left, press A to select all the UVs and move them to a lighter wood color. The signpost is done. Press F2, give it a name and move it to the side. I like to keep assets visible while I model so I can maintain scale and style between objects. Press Shift A and add a new cube. Go to the Materials tab and select the PixPal material. Tab into edit mode and press A to select everything. Move the mouse to the palette texture and press A to select all the UVs, then press S to scale and 0 to scale it infinitely small. Zoom in and press G to move all the UVs to a wood color. While all the faces are selected, press I to inset and press I again to inset individual faces. When multiple faces in different angles are selected, you can't press E to extrude them normally. Instead, press Alt-E and extrude along face normals. Press A on the left when the inner faces are selected and press G to move the UVs to a darker color. Hold Alt and click on the inner corner edge to loop select faces. Press Shift G to select similar based on area. This selects all the inner edges that have a very similar area, which saves us time. On the left, press A to select all the UVs and move them to a darker color to fake ambient occlusion. This simple wood crate can already be used in a game now, but we can give it more detail. In edit mode, select the bottom interface. Press Shift D to duplicate it, S to scale it down and move it to the side. Press E to extrude it up and slide the top face to the left. Change the front color to a lighter one. In edit mode, press L while you hover over the angled slat to select all the separate geometry of that slat. Down to the left, you can choose how Select Linked works. By default, it's in normal mode to select all geometry that's connected to each other. Press Shift D to duplicate the slat and right mouse button to snap it back. If I press R to rotate it, it will rotate around its own axis by default. So instead, press Shift C to put the 3D cursor at the center of your scene at 0, 0, 0. Press period and change pivot point to 3D cursor. Now press R to rotate, Z to force rotation around the blue Z axis, and type in 90 enter for a 90-degree rotation. Repeat this process 2 more times. Shift D, right click, R to rotate, 90 enter. Do the same again, but rotate around the green Y axis. For the final rotation, type in 180 for 180 degrees instead. This wood crate can be used in a game now. Press F2 to give it a name and move it to the side. Press period and change pivot point back to medium point. Shift A to add a new cube and set the PixPal material. Tab into edit mode, A to select all geometry, move mouse to the UVs on the left and press A again to select all of them. Press S0 to scale them down and G to move to a wood color. For this detailed wood crate, we need a different topology. Press Ctrl R and use mouse wheel to make 2 loop cuts. Press SX to scale them on the X-axis and imagine 2 edge slats. Do the same for the Y-axis and the Z-axis. Select the interface, and now when we press Shift G to select similar area, it won't select all of them since they're slightly different. Expand the select similar and change the threshold until it includes all your inner faces. Press Alt E and extrude along face normals. If we select these faces and press I twice to inset individually, we don't get a slat effect. And if we don't use individual mode, we'd have to do one slat at a time. So in edge select mode, hold Shift and select the edges that we want to remove or dissolve for the slats to work. Now press X and dissolve edges to remove them while keeping the faces. Now in face select mode, hold Shift and select all our slats. We only have to select a few and press Shift G and select similar area. Press I again to inset, and if you need to, press I again to make sure that insetting individual faces is on. Press Alt S to inflate the faces along their normals. Use the technique you've learned to colorize the mesh with darker edges and faces for depth. If you try to use Ctrl R to loop cut, it won't go around the mesh since we've dissolved edges to create n-gons. In vertex select, select the vertex and hold Shift and select corresponding vertex on the other side. Press J to connect the vertex path. Do this for all 16 corner slat edges. Now you can press Ctrl R to introduce loop cuts for slats. Select and dissolve edges again so you can use I to inset individual slats and use Alt S to expand them along face normals. Then colorize for depth. Create the diagonal support slat like we did before. You can Alt Z to toggle X-ray mode if it's difficult to select faces. Make loop cuts on the support slat to have more geometry for stylized deformation later. You can press O to enable proportional editing and move vertices around to stylize the shape. Use the mouse wheel to change how much effect proportional editing should have. You may need to introduce some more geometry with loop cuts and J to connect vertex paths for better deformation. Avoid perfectly straight edges. By using G to move, S to scale, R to rotate the geometry, proportional editing will give the object character. When you get to this level of detail, you can right-click on the object and select Shade Auto Smooth. It will keep corners sharp but smooth out the slats. Remember, you can use Ctrl B to bevel edges and introduce edge wear. You can also use Ctrl Shift B to bevel vertices. Let's make another copy and do one more level of detail. You can use the K key to introduce knife cuts and colorize the new faces darker for a wood grain look. This will introduce more n-gons and will be frowned upon from a topology perspective. N-gons are bad when you need to deform a mesh with an armature like a character or deform objects with shaders and it stops us from doing more loop cuts. But we don't need to deform this mesh with an armature, and if we accept that loop cutting won't be possible anymore, it's okay. If you're not good at texture painting, or if you want to have sharp, high quality edges, or if you want to have a very small footprint objects without large texture maps, this is a good way to add detail. Press L when you hover over slats like this and press H to hide it. Then you can work behind and press Alt-H to unhide again when you're done. This crate now has about 2,700 vertices, so it's not low poly anymore, but it's still a low poly count for today's game engines. You can also inset and extrude wood grain to give it a stronger effect. Next, we'll make a shiny coin. Press Shift A and add a cylinder. I use 16 sides for a low poly look. S to scale it down, change material and scale down the UVs like before. Now you can place the UVs in a shiny region for a reflective metallic look. Use I to inset a couple of times and Alt-S to shrink inwards along face normals. I use Shade Auto Smooth again and the knife tool to add a ridiculous looking head. Inset and extrude the head and change colors for more detail. You can also extrude the edge faces for more texture and add a crown or something else on the other side. If you want a more stylized, cartoony look, you can enable proportional editing and move around the vertices. To make a treasure chest, use the same technique and extrude and scale faces. You inset faces to add depth. If you run into this problem where insetting looks proportionally wrong, it's because your object scale is not uniformed. In object mode, go to the item in the end panel. If the scale is not 111, select the object and press Ctrl A and apply scale. That will make insetting and other operations work as expected in edit mode again. We're insetting the wood parts of the chest and edges will be making metal. We often make symmetrical objects, so go to Edit, Preferences, Extensions and install Auto Mirror. With Auto Mirror enabled in object mode, look for the Edit tab and click on Auto Mirror. This adds the mirror modifier and sets it up automatically. Anything you do will happen on two sides now. You can use Auto Mirror again, now on the Y-axis. It adds another mirror modifier and changes to a corner will affect all four corners. Another useful technique to learn is to merge vertices. If I select this vertex, hold Shift and select another vertex, I can press M and select Last to merge those vertices together. Vertex snapping is also useful. Go to the snapping dropdown and select Vertex. Now you can slide a vertex along an axis arrow and hold Ctrl down and click on another vertex to snap it to that exact same location on that axis. Let's change the UVs of the chest for a grey metallic color and then change the inset part to a brown wood color. This could be a low poly chest ready for use in a game. You can apply the mirror modifiers by hovering over them and pressing Ctrl A. It may leave some edges that you don't want, so you can hold Shift and loop select and press X and dissolve those edges. Use loop cuts or select edge, right click and subdivide to make faces for slats. Select all the slats and press I to inset and Alt S to expand the faces along their normals. Change the colors and use proportional editing to wonkify for a stylized look. You can also use the knife tool to add wood grain details here. Remember, Ctrl B to bevel edges for edge wear, and right click in object mode and Shade Auto Smooth for a smoother look. For details, select a face and press Shift D to duplicate it. Move it and extrude it into a lock. Change it to a metal color and use the knife tool to add a keyhole. Bevel some dents and imperfections for stylization. Use the same method to create hinges on the other side. Split the hinges into two to allow us to open this chest up. My favorite way to create cylinders is to duplicate a square face and right-clicking on it and subdividing it. Then under File, Preferences, Add-ons, enable Loop Tools. Now with the face selected, in the end panel, use Edit, Loop Tools, Circle. This way you can create a new low poly circle that will have the correct UVs already. I use the same duplicate face, subdivide, circle, extrude trick to create the rivets. In many games, you need to open things, so let's modify a copy of this chest to make it openable. Press numpad 1 for front view and Alt-Z for X-ray mode, and in face select mode, press B to box select and select the lid and the upper part of the hinges. Press P to separate the selection into a completely separate object. The pivot point of the lid is still at the base, which we'll need to change. But first, select the base and press slash on the numpad to isolate the object. Go into edit mode and edge mode and hold Shift Alt and click on an edge to loop select. Then press F to create a new polygon, I to inset, and E to extrude it down, but not too far. I make the inside darker too. Press slash on the numpad again, and do the same for the lid. To fix the lid's pivot point, go into Edit mode and Vertex Select mode. Click on the center vertex at the back and press Shift S, cursor to selected. Right-click on the lid and select Set Origin, Origin to 3D Cursor. Now the lid will rotate around the hinges, perfect for using games and animations without having to add an armature or bones. To fill this chest with coins manually would be tedious. Instead, go to the Physics tab and select the chest. Click Rigid Body and change type to passive. Change the shape to mesh. Select the coin and add rigid body. Keep it active and shape as convex hull. When you press space to play animation, the coin should fall into the chest. Go to the animation tab and go to the first frame. Duplicate the coin multiple times with Shift D. When you press space, they should all fall into the chest. Select all the coins and duplicate them with Shift D and move them up. Press Shift R to repeat the last process for even more coins. Now you'll probably need more frames to animate, so change the frame count to 200. Since we're making low poly art, I recommend reducing the number of coins and modify the chest to have a solid gold filling. Fewer coins will be fewer polygons. After simulation, you probably have to delete some of the coins that bounced out far down below. Then I select all the coins, I go to Object, Rigid Body, Apply Transformation. Go to the first frame again, and Object, Rigid Body, Remove. With all the coins selected, press Ctrl J to join them into one object. If it's too much detail, you can add a decimate modifier and reduce the poly count. A value of 0.1 reduces 20,800 vertices down to 2,200 vertices. To create a barrel, you could use the same technique that you've learned. Shift A to add a cylinder, change the UVs and color it brown. Use Ctrl R for loop cuts, and then you can use Alt S to scale the barrel proportionally. I use I to inset the top and the bottom polygon, and Alt E to extrude along face normals. To create the metal rings, you can use Ctrl R for loop cuts and Alt E to extrude along face normals and change to a metal color. By changing the top polygon to a blue mirror color, you can simulate reflective water. And you can stylize the edges with proportional editing for more character. Making individual staves on this mesh is a bit tricky now since the metal rings are part of the mesh. Instead, I would inset individually and extrude the staves earlier in the process. Then add the loop cuts and deformation afterwards. Then you can use scale, inset, extrude, and proportional editing to shape the barrel and stylize it. Change the watercolor to the mirror finish and duplicate the top face with Shift D and move it down. Then extrude it and scale it up to create the metal ring. You can press Shift D again and mirror the metal ring vertically by scaling it by -1 on the Z axis. But by doing this, we have inverted the faces. It's not possible to see here, but a game engine would not render them. Go to the overlays dropdown in the top right and select face orientation. Inverted faces show up in red. In edit mode, press L to select the metal ring and Alt N and recalculate outside, and Blender will fix the inverted geometry. You can also press L on the barrel and enable Sync UV selection. Now when you select wood colored UVs, it will select the geometry in the viewport too. Press 1 on the numpad to go to front view and go to UV project from view. Now in the UV editor on the left, you can press S to scale the UVs down all the way down to 0 on the x-axis. Then move the UVs to a wood gradient for gradually darker effect going down the barrel. You can also add wood grain look with a knife tool if you want. For our final item, the lantern, you would use only the same technique that we've gone through. E to extrude, S to scale, R to rotate, and Ctrl R for loop cuts. I tend to avoid perfect lines and make it stylized and a bit wonky from the start. For speed, I use Shift D to duplicate faces and E to extrude them into new parts. The only different thing on this lantern is to make it automatically light up by colorizing the lantern faces to the glow region of the material, which has built-in emission. This works because Compositor is set to always in the shading dropdown. And in the Compositing tab, the starter file has a glare node configured to make strong emissive surfaces bloom. Have fun adding geometry, wood and metal pieces, and introduce edge wear with beveled edges. I also want to mention that I've created a free Blender add-on that can bake your colorized and detailed meshes into traditional textures. Check out the link in the description to a dedicated video about that add-on. Personally, I always use the palette colored objects to save space and for sharp edges.